Tokenization is about to transform our entire financial system from the ground up. And when you own an asset like XRP, you own a piece of that new financial system. I put together several brand new clips talking about tokenization. We got Larry Fink, the CEO of Coinbase, also up here. This is going to be the future. Quadrillions of dollars are about to flow on these networks. And this is a once in a generational opportunity. We have never had the opportunity to own a piece of the financial system. And that is what you are doing when you own XRP, Ethereum, and Solana. Let's jump into what all of this could mean for your holdings. I will explore what is happening with tokenization on the XRP ledger after we get through these important clips. Guys, if you get any value from this content, please hit like. It does help support the channel. I would really, really appreciate that.
About tokenization. And I think that tokenization, some people here will know it well, some people will not. So maybe you can help level set. But I think you have a view that tokenization is effectively going to change finance forever.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Explain?
Explain.
There's so much conversation going on about AI and how AI is going to be reshaping the world. There's not enough conversation about how technology is going to be reshaping the financial services area too. And the need for democratization, as Secretary Besson talked about the democratization of investing in America. There are slews of middlemen in the whole financial services area. We have elongated settlements, elongated processes. If we could digitize every asset, so if we could digitize all stocks and bonds and have it more seamless going from a digital wallet of cash or a stable coin into equities or bonds through in most categories through an ETF, it will reduce the friction costs, the transaction costs, and it allows a much more free flow. So there's $4.1 trillion of money in digital wallets globally, sitting in stable coins mostly. And can you now, and right now, if they wanted to go into a bond or stock or have a real estate transaction, they have to take the money out of the digital wallet into a traditional wallet and have all those commissions and fees and all that stuff. So the whole idea of tokenization of all assets, including real estate ultimately, is to just reduce huge friction costs, making investing easier, simpler. You could, as the secretary was talking about this one account, you could do this all through.
All right. So much is happening. All right. Here is another clip on tokenization from Ondo Finance. Tokenization is making Wall Street global.
We launched tokenized stocks in the Binance wallet last week. So now all of Binance Wallet's users, about 280 million people, I think, have access to US stocks and ETFs 24/7 whenever they want. And we've seen very good traction so far of the product. Like, users really want access to these stocks 24/7 because outside the US in particular, there really is a large user base that historically has struggled to get access to US stocks and ETFs. And now on blockchain rails, they can do that very seamlessly with stablecoins 24/7. So we launched tokenized stocks.
This is why the US is so interested in doing all of this tokenization, because they're opening the markets to every single person around the globe. They're making it easier to invest in the US market. And listen, every other country wants to do the same. They want to make it easier for people historically around the world to invest in their markets and their infrastructure and their companies. So you have a global race right now. Everybody is rushing to make this happen because the first countries, the first infrastructures that start to take advantage of this will be a huge head start and probably the leaders across the industry. Now, here is Brian Armstrong on tokenization.
If you just zoom out for a minute and say, okay, these companies are staying private longer, right? Sarbanes-Oxley and all these things made it more difficult to go public. The amount of demand for capital in these private companies is just going to keep growing and growing. And there's so much money in crypto. How can crypto update capital formation just like it's updated every other part of the financial services area? So there's a big investment that we're making in how to update how to update capital formation and make it easier for private companies to raise money, but we want to do it with the permission of those companies.
Ultimately, do you want to compete with Larry? Do you guys think that you're competing with each other? Because you've talked about broadening your offerings far beyond crypto.
Larry's like, what?
No, I don't think so. In fact, we're a great partner of theirs on their ETF.
Right.
We're powering, I think, more than 80% of the ETFs for crypto in terms of custody and trading. And, as there's an effort to tokenize their funds, Coinbase is well positioned to be the leader in just tokenization of every asset. I mean, we've done that with stablecoins. You can look at it happening now in various parts of the world with stocks. It should be happening with every fund. And what we want to do is actually market their products to our customers, that the $500 billion of assets that you mentioned for retail and institutional. we want to put those products in front of our customers.
Looks like there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and Coinbase will be a key player. Now, here's Eric Trump talking about tokenization. He had a lot of great points in this clip. Let's jump right into it.
Rather than tokenizing the completed asset. So talk to me about the main driver behind this project.
I think we're going to see a world in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, when you look back, where pretty much every asset class is tokenized in some way, shape, or form. If Taylor Swift comes out with a new album, why is she going out to Paramount Records or one of these big, record label houses? Why doesn't she just go out to those Swiftie fans who would invest in her, who would invest in her project, who would want to be partners in that project? And why can't that be tokenized? Why can't some girl who absolutely loves Taylor Swift invest $200 of her money or $500 of her money and buy part of a tokenized album that can live forever, they can throw out possible cash flow, etc.? You're going to have the arts that are tokenized. You're going to have music that's tokenized. You're going to have Hollywood that's tokenized. You're going to have real estate that's tokenized. So I really announced this on 2 projects. One, Trump International Hotel and Tower, Dubai, which we're building right in the middle of the city. It's going to be one of the most spectacular buildings anywhere in the world. A project that we're doing in the Maldives, also in hospitality. That's what I do But I mean, why not give somebody the ability to have some level of ownership? Why is it that I should only be going out to Deutsche Bank? Or why is it that I should only be going out to JP Morgan Chase in order to be, or Wells Fargo, or you name the lender out there to actually get end loan financing? If people believe in us, if people believe in our brand, if people believe in any project, why can't they invest? Why not give people the freedom of being able to, invest or be a part of in some way, shape, or form, projects that are aspirational to them, projects that they otherwise believe in? Why is that only reserved for the select few? And that's what tokenization is going to do. Tokenization is going to massively broaden the market. Without being able to do that, they wouldn't have had the financial capacity, but now they can. Now they can own a piece of whatever they believe is beautiful, whatever they believe has value. That's what tokenization is. We're going to do it for art. We're going to do it for Hollywood. We're going to do it for commodities. We're going to do it for the oil and gas industry. We're going to do it, and we're going to trade on stable coins. A lot of that can be done in DeFi using smart contracts, where you don't need middlemen, you don't need fees, you don't need expenses of the big banks, you don't need foreign exchange.
Pretty much anything in the world here is going to be tokenized. Imagine football clubs or NFL clubs. I said football like soccer, so just bear with me. That's why I said football and then NFL. So we get both, the best of both worlds. All of these different things that used to be illiquid can finally start to have investment from just anybody, from any background with any investment. They can start participating. And this is where things are going to start really taking off. Now, here's the CEO of Robinhood talking about tokenization is a freight train and it can't be stopped.
But what hasn't been unlocked yet is real-time 24/7 trading. And I think there's a lot of things that we still have to figure out, not just with regulators, but also with these companies, because they rightly do have some concerns. It's a new thing. Not all of them like their stocks being traded in real time 24/7. And, I think that we're going to get to a point, I think, in the next probably 5 to 10 years where it is ubiquitous. I mentioned in my talk that tokenization is a freight train. It can't be stopped. And I think eventually it'll eat the whole global financial system.
Eventually, it will eat the entire global financial system. Tokenization is exploding. US treasuries, real estate, commodities, everything is moving on chain.
If we are looking at a new world order that is, as Pippa describes it, decentralized, what does that mean?
Well, first of all, let's take a look at what makes up world orders. World orders are that a group of countries across the world agree to a set of rules, and they agree to play by them.
What underpins a world order is always the financial system. And what we're seeing in the world today, I think, is we are on the brink of a dramatic change where we are about to, and I'll say this boldly, we're about to abandon the traditional system of money and accounting and introduce a new one.
Everyone's been predicting the demise of the dollar for a long time.
And the new one, the new accounting, is what we call blockchain. It means digital. It means having a almost perfect record of every single transaction that happens in the economy, which will give us far greater clarity over what's going on. It also raises huge dangers in terms of the balance of power between states and citizens. In my opinion, we're going to need a digital constitution of human rights if we're going to have digital money. But also, this new money will be sovereign in nature. Most people think that digital money is crypto and private. I find it very difficult to talk about the world order that we're coming into, given how very tenuous and unstable the current environment is. In my lifetime, this is the second time that I have seen the superpowers actually threaten the possibility of nuclear war.
A lot of things happening with tokenization, guys. And then I played this clip. I made a whole video around this. I thought this was the most bullish clip I've heard this week on tokenization. This was an interview between Fox News and Paul Atkins, the SEC director. And I just got to play it again because this was just incredible to hear.
Do you expect this is where financial services is going? Are the major banks and the brokers out there today moving increasingly toward tokenization?
Absolutely. And it's the way the world will be, here in the, maybe not even in 10 years, maybe even a lot less time, maybe a couple of years from now. So
look at his eyes here, right? There's something obviously he knows. Being the head of the SEC, he understands the processes that all of these markets are going through. I just want to go back and just focus on the way that he's trying not to tell and spill all of the beans because, his job is to not hype everybody, but he's trying to be honest and sincere about how quickly this transformation is happening and how many, just watch it again, please.
Today, moving increasingly toward tokenization?
Absolutely. And it's the way the world will be, here in the, maybe not even in 10 years, maybe even a lot less time, maybe a couple of years from now. So I think that all of this modernization of the markets, I think, is good. And the trouble that we've seen here over the past few years is that, the SEC, unlike historically, it never was necessarily at the vanguard of pushing new innovations. It was always, a little bit behind the market, of course. But here recently, it's been almost standing athwart the marketplace, and as it's, as all these new innovations were coming about. So that's no more. We're actually embracing it, and I believe that we need to be embracing it to keep the United States at the forefront.
All right, we need to embrace it to keep the United States at the forefront of this digital innovation, okay? And so if you're wondering how the XRP ledger fits into this, there's a lot of great companies building out this infrastructure for tokenization. Robinhood, you have Ondo. Those are one of the two key players that I see doing the most. Of course, a lot of this is going to be on Ethereum, some of it's going to be on Solana, and some of it's going to be via the XRP ledger. Now, when you take a look here on what's been happening in 2025 with the XRP ledger, tokenization on the XRP ledger is now a full stack native standard. IOUs, NFTs, multi-purpose tokens, and integrated DEX and AMM, and live institutional real-world asset pilots, especially treasuries. Treasuries is a $29.6 trillion industry that is coming on chain. And one of the biggest chains that they're looking at, of course, is the XRP ledger. Because you have all of these different currencies wanting to be invested, and when you sell, you might have to do currency swaps to get it back, right? Anybody really can invest in these. That's why you have Japan, the UK, and China being the top three that is investing in US treasuries. So when you sell those treasuries, you might need to do a currency swap back into whatever currency that person wants. Having it on chain will give you a 24/7, 365 ability to do all of that. And so in stablecoin rails and real world assets, especially treasuries and stablecoin rails like RLUSD, with measured real world asset growth in the hundreds of % in 2025, actively moving from an experimental to a production with real T-bill scale, early institutional custody and compliance features like credentials and freeze tools aimed at MiCA and SEC alignment. Below is a structured snapshot of the things that we can talk about here. So XRPL has three main native tokenization layers: issued currencies, IOUs, for fungible tokens like stablecoins, real-world assets, and bank fiat representations; XLS20, NFTs for unique assets, collectibles, real estate shares, identity credentials, etc., and a newer multi-purpose token standard for representing complex financial instruments and real-world assets with rich behaviors directly in protocol. Because these are native features, issuers can tokenize and trade assets without deploying smart contracts while using built-in controls to whitelist, and whilst investors block transfers to delegate management of the tokens. This architecture is designed to keep fees low, settlement sub-second, and reduce contract risk for institutions. Talks about DeFi rails, DEX, AMM, and liquidity. XRPL's built-in order book DEX has been upgraded with XLS30, a protocol native AMM that sits alongside the central limit order book instead of replacing it. Each pair, XRP or any tokenized asset, can have a single AMM pool and routing logic automatically chooses between AMM and order books or both to optimize execution. Liquidity providers receive LP tokens representing their share of the pool and can participate in governance features like AMM bidding for discounted transfer trading fees, and AMM voting on pool fees. This AMM plus DEX combo is what enables secondary markets and pricing for tokenized real-world assets, NFTs, and institutional tokens on the XRP ledger. And it also says real-world asset tokenization. The XRP ledger provides a template for real-world asset tokenization that covers issuance, transfer control, and compliance checks without custom contracts. Issuers can embed investor credential checks, permission transfers, and on full ledger audit trails, which is aimed at securities and regulated products like T-bills. All of this stuff has to be built in. And it's already built into the XRP ledger. So if you're looking at other assets that you may think compete against the XRP ledger, you need to make sure you have all of this compliance baked in, because if you don't, it really isn't competing with the XRP ledger. On the adoption side, OpenEden, similar projects have launched tokenized US Treasury bills on the XRP ledger, demonstrating high-value real-world assets. Masari tracked real-world asset capitalization on XRPL grew 200% quarter over quarter in quarter 3, 2025, with tokenized treasuries rising from single low-digit millions to well over 100 million in 2025 alone. Broader on-chain real-world asset market estimates have jumped from single-digit to billions in 2022 to tens of billions mid-2025. So we are seeing the rapid evolution and growth. And now that XRP has that regulatory clarity it needs, all of these institutions are looking towards the XRP ledger to tokenize some of these assets. And then it says institutional and infrastructure move. Institutions are explicitly looking at the XRP ledger for tokenization of real estate securities and government debt because it's built in DEX. Fast settlement and compliance features. Ripple strategically positions the XRP ledger as an institutional grade settlement and tokenization network. You have the tokens that are probably going to be worth a whole lot more over the next few years. I don't look at the day-to-day price for XRP because when it's up, I'm happy. When it's down, I'm thinking like, what's going on? But I know that if I just sit back and I buy the dips and I wait for this process to play out, that my financial status will probably be a lot better a few years from now than it is today. I don't care about a $5 or $10 or $20 XRP. I care about XRP being used as the tool it was designed to for institutional use of tokenization and to move value around the planet. Once we reach that point, I think we're all going to look back at this moment and say, remember when we were joking about selling XRP at 10 bucks? I'm sure glad I didn't do that. You have one opportunity to get this right. You're not going to get a second chance. There is no time machine to go back into time to replay this. So think long and clear before you set up your goals of where you're looking to take profit in this industry. If you need help with that, obviously talk with a financial advisor. Don't mess this up. All right. I'll keep you updated with all the news. I hope you got value. Thank you for being here. I'm Crypto Sensei. I will see you in the next one.